because men definitely do cross the line. But also to a certain degree, women like men who are a certain degree of persistence, right? Some women will be like, yo, to be honest, I wanted you to like, convince me more, or like, cause I'm personally like, and like, no means no, right? Like niggas can tell you, I'll walk the fuck away.
Sure.
But some women have actually told me to my face, like, yo, if you had, pressed more or gone further down the quote unquote line, I would have, I would have fucked with it.
So let
So
me
I
ask you a
think,
question.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're right? Do you think that their view on how sexual interaction should happen is right?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Do I think it's right personally? Well,
like, do you think the way that they're asking men to conduct themselves is the way that men should conduct themselves?
No, because I don't think it's safe for men, because I think it's better than you be safe than sorry. You see what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
So no, I don't think that's the way men should operate. But I'm saying to a certain degree, women do encourage that persistent, see how far you can push behavior.
Sure. Then I think that there's a pretty clean conclusion there, which is like, you don't want to do it. You think it's a bad behavior. You think that it's a bad behavior, even when women encourage it. I don't see much of a disagreement here. All you're pointing out is that there are bad behaviors that men do, and to some extent, women participate in these allowing, permitting, or sort of propagating these bad behaviors. But we all should be condemning them, men and women alike. I think that all fits together pretty cleanly.
Agreed.
I think the main issue I'm having is just the premise and the thought process of that we have to
see, that's a red flag. It's a red flag.
Women do genuinely admire, like, the things that they find repulsive are only in repulsion when it's the man that they don't admire. Like that's an understandable statement.
Try to add in repulsive and shit to make it sound like he was saying something smart. That's true for everybody.
I'm just saying, if you don't want to take my words, you don't have to. I'm just saying, like
I'm not.
You know that when you talk to a girl, if you're deemed pretty, you can say, like, for instance, girls will say like, "Oh, he's being creepy." Well, what do? He just says "hey" so weirdly. But if you said the exact same thing for a man that's pretty, it's not going.
See,
attractive.
I've seen this take a lot. Here's my issue with that take.
Mm-hmm.
What you're describing is like pretty privilege, which everybody does. The problem is
that's what I'm saying.
Niggas, but the problem is niggas take that like observed thing and they go a step forward and say like, oh, it's not really sexual harassment because if the guy was attractive, you'd be okay with it. And no, the point is the opposite. That when you are really, really attractive, people let you get away with bad behaviors. The behaviors are still bad though. Like,
oh, of course,
if you're pretty and you beat somebody's ass, people let you get away with it. The beating is still bad. So if a hot nigga does some creepy shit, does some sexually harassing shit, and he's just so attractive that you like him and you let him get away with it, it's still sexual harassment. It's still wrong, and we should start with saying like, nah, fuck this behavior. This nigga.
And it goes deeper than that with just like the way people perceive like the priorities people have. Like, so when it comes to like someone that's not attractive, people will definitely want to prioritize the safety of somebody over that person. So like if somebody's creepy or like, not attractive or not really admired in the eyes of the public as being somebody admirable, they will harshly punish that person. Whereas somebody that's admirable, aka Jeffrey Dahmer, stuff like that, they're gonna, like, just the actors, they're gonna view that as like, oh, we don't have to, he didn't deserve to go to jail, like shit like that. So I mean,
anyone ever said that?
Is somebody saying that though?
No, they're just saying they would fuck him.
They just saying they fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think nobody's saying let this nigga out.
Jail, like free Jeffrey Dahmer.
They just saying let him stick his dick through the bars.
No, there is a large contingent of people, especially on TikTok. There was a large contingent of people like on the side of TikTok, not in like not in every part of TikTok, but there was a very good section of people that were just like, he didn't deserve it, or
brother shit. The Menendez
exactly. There's just like in general, like there's just a lot of people like that were just like
privilege.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, like that speaks more about the society of how things are, like how society is, than more of just like I
want to go back to the sexual harassment itself, right?
Let's do it.
No, real shit, right? I feel like it's only sexual harassment if you can't read her body language, right? So like if you're a regular nigga, you start off with like hand on the back. If she backs up off hand off the back, then you back up too. Not sexual harassment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you put your hand on her back, she leans in towards you. I know I'm in dangerous territory,
Yeah.
Nah, go ahead
definitely.
and get all the dumb out so we can start the podcast on a good note.
but
Get that evil out. You know what I'm saying? Expel it.
but yeah, for real, no. But this shit has been on my brain because like it's really only sexual harassment if you can't read social cues. Because every interaction, when you're shooting at a girl, especially in the club,
I can see that.
What the fuck?
I mean, granted, that's a very general like statement, but it does make sense in that aspect. Like, I
Y'all,
can
I
see
think
that.
y'all might be using the wrong words. I think y'all might be using the wrong words to because I understand what you're saying, but the words you're using are awful.
Definitely.
Like it's
the word. It's way too general.
What he said is mad because he basically just said it's not rape if it's sex. It's like, yeah,
No,
if
like
it's
just
consensual,
from
it's
the
not
pure
rape.
example of what he's like.
No, that's what
like,
you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Why
You say it's not
y'all
harassment if I don't
like a
harass them.
fucking
Let's not
educate,
jump.
bro.
Let's not jump.
We not
Damn, bro.
jumping. That's a walk.
We are jumping. We're
That's right.
definitely
We on the
taking leaps.
treadmill.
No,
We on the treadmill right now. That's where I'm going where y'all
No.
at. You basically
I-
just said it's not rape if it's consensual. You said it's not sexual
Wait,
harassment if I'm not harassing
it's
her.
not rape if it's consensual. That's
Yeah.
kind of the definition of
Yeah,
rape.
I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly.
not-
You're not making an actual point. You're just saying it's not sexual harassment if I'm not harassing her sexually. Like,
No. But
No
what
shit.
he's saying is that like if you're able to read the social cues of like what a person wants and doesn't want, like the
that's
underlying
called
message of what.
seeking consent. I don't understand what extra point y'all are making.
Okay. You think I think I know what I'm trying to. I think I
Okay,
know
what
where
are
I'm
you
going
saying?
with this,
Yeah.
right. Every situation starts off with there's a spectrum to everything. You know what I'm saying? So every situation in a club aspect, or even in a club aspect, or even in like a dating aspect, starts off with a lower level of sexual harassment, not harassment, but a sexual move that a lot of girls would deem harassment if not liked by the other person.
Again, it's not sexual harassment if you're not harassing them sexually. Like, I don't understand what your point is.
Because if you do it, if you put the hand on the back, remember the Como shit, and they don't like it, now it's harassment. But you still got to try to put the hand on the back to see if they like it. You see where I'm going with this?
Okay. No, I don't. But I think there's an interesting point.
I see where he's getting.
He's saying
I'm not surprised.
saying you
I believe
can't-
that you do.
I
I think
think
that the
you-
issue
you
here is
should
we
not
have
be
to ask
getting
the
in
question
trouble.
of like, what are the appropriate first steps for a person? And I think hand on the back is
I
too
wouldn't say
much
like
for a first step.
because back then it used to be appropriate. No, back then
niggas
that
was
used
still
to
raping. Like, you can't use the past as the metric.
what? No,
niggas
you
lost their
can't.
whole-
You can't.
what do you
I mean, the past is how we learn. That's definitely true. And so, like, if you take from what we used to do in the past, like in the 80s and stuff, guys used to like put their arms around the girl, like in the movies, stuff like that. That if we do that today, it's what he's saying is like the first step used to be acceptable back then of just trying it out. And
It
if it
wasn't
doesn't work,
acceptable
okay, that's
back
cool.
then. That's the whole point. That's why we had the
It-
Me Too
what
movement.
are you talking
Because the
about?
things
That's
that were because the things that were done back then, if they
Mm-hmm.
were still acceptable, we'd still be doing them. We've had
Oh.
an entire movement of millions and millions of women saying over and over again, these things make us uncomfortable. These things are harassment. These things are an issue. And even if there might be some women that are okay with them, there's an overwhelming avalanche of women saying these things are not appropriate, which is why the culture shifted. This is
Well,
obvious.
there is such this thing as silent majority, you know, like I don't think that it's like to the point. I mean, granted, like the bad thing about how the current days of things are going is that there's a very current epidemic of like, if you're just loud, you're the majority apparently. Like if you're loud,
But see, then my issue is we get into conspiratorial thinking. So I have a large group of women who, let's say, are loud. They're speaking fervently about a series of issues.
I get you.
And you're saying that what they're saying is false based on what?
You did not. You. I don't know if you're adding words to my mouth on purpose or on accident, but I didn't
No, no,
say
no,
that they're
you're
false.
saying
I'm
there's
just
a-
saying. I'm
you're-
just saying there could no. That's a possibility.
It could be
because a
false.
lot of people. Well, yeah. Anything could be false. Anything could be falsifiable. That's how thoughts work. But I'm just saying, like, if we go by the notion of just like, since they're the loudest, they get the majority tag. No, that
Loudest
should not be
relative to
true.
what?
I'm talking about loudest is like they're the only people being vocal about the subject. Like for instance, like the Me Too movement, people hating Trump, stuff like that.
No, I understand
like
what you're
back
talking
then,
about, but like
it
you
used
have
to
to
be
compare it to something.
like
Go Trump.
what do you mean loud? Like
okay,
loud,
so for instance, because what you're trying to do is you're going, we have some observed piece of information, right? And we're trying to figure out, is this representative of the whole? You never, when you're doing any kind of observation, you don't know if what you're observing represents everything. So what you're suggesting is that what we're observing might not represent the whole. You have to have evidence for why you think that is. So if we go, so I'm asking about that. So you're going, cool. There's a group of people who are saying X. It might be possible that Y is true. What is the evidence to suggest that?
And you want to know where I'm going with this? And I'm going where this is where I'm going with this. Even the group of people that are saying X, they only think X is creepy if they don't like the person. Therefore, the real Me Too is
we already addressed this.
But the real Me Too is the second time they try it. The second time they make that move and the woman has already denied that first step, that's where it becomes really Me Too.
Okay.
No.
But Me One, not that bad. In the grand scheme of things, let's keep it a bean. Let's not do this PC shit. Let's keep it a bean. First step. Well, come on. Am I tripping?
Bro,
yes. Nothing that you said. I think you might be aiming to just be funny because nothing that you're saying makes any sense.
I mean, granted, if you want to take exactly like, I feel like you, Eddie, I feel like you're treating like Q's words as like how we treat Kanye's words. It's like you're taking them at face value. You're not trying to see the nuance behind it or like to try to extrapolate from what he's saying.
As a speaker, he's doing his job of articulating his thoughts.
Of course, and he might be poor at it. He might be poor at it. But I think as an intellectual, as what we are, as what we should try to be. We should try to take everybody's words and take them into account and see what they're trying to extrapolate from it. Because we can understand people. We are people. And so we can understand how people operate. I think
you got an exceptional bullshit skill, 100%. I appreciate it. But no, if a person articulates their thoughts and the thoughts are bad, they're still bad. Mm-hmm. I think we use this idea of like nuance to assume that like every kind of thought has value to it. Some thoughts articulated well are fucking idiotic. So the question here is, am I misunderstanding something that he's saying? And now if that's what you're saying, then by all means clarify.
What I'm saying? I want to know the problem with what I'm saying. I'm dead ass right now. I want to know the problem with making the first.
So you all have said about 20 different dumb things altogether. Could you pick one?
Yeah. Where is the line that is crossed in that first move that is so fucked up that you cannot do it again? Where's that line? That's what I'm asking.
So I think there are two. That's crazy, but I think there are two things. So one, there's a question of like, what things is it appropriate to do with someone that you have no interaction with? Mm-hmm. Meaning like, this is your first thing. So maybe asking a person out on a date, et cetera, maybe shaking someone's hand, grabbing someone's thigh, someone's knee. Those things are considered inappropriate, overstepping a boundary. Essentially anything that you would have an issue with another man who is interested in you romantically doing is usually the line. I think that's a pretty good metric. But then also, like you said, all of those things they change based on how interested the other person is communicating to you they are. So if the other person wants to fuck you, the line is all the way up until fucking you because they want to do the things that you're doing. So it's not that there's nuance. Don't get me wrong. So I understand maybe that element of what you're saying, but it's not that complicated.
I mean, you can say it's not that complicated, but social cues are not easy for every human, you know.
That's why I use the word nuance.
Yeah, and I find it so like I always feel bad because like I have friends that are like autistic and stuff, and I really do feel bad for when like they do want to get intimate with somebody because like they always struggle and it becomes like a hard case for them. Like either it becomes like they don't do anything or they do too much, and it's a real like painful thing to see because like you know everybody deserves like to try love at least, and so it's like. You know, seeing them struggle with it and like get sexual harassment cases put in against them is always like it's very sad to see. So
I think that's a fair conversation. I think that's a really fair conversation. Honestly, yeah. I think the issue is that conversation and what Q is talking about are
Of course,
two
yeah,
different
they're
things
very
that end up
different.
getting
Yeah,
conflated.
definitely.
Like if we're talking about, hey, look, my goal is to have consensual interactions with other people. I struggle to read cues, which I think a lot of people do, and a lot of the
Yeah.
cues they change based on culture, based on time, which we just had a disagreement on. Cool, let's have a conversation about what the norms are. But if you're looking for a reason to invalidate the norms, if you're looking for a reason to say that this person communicating to me that they don't want to do this thing, somehow they're the problem, then that's an issue. Like, I don't think that Q's line of questioning is looking for a reasonable line to find. It's looking to shit on the existence of the line, and that's the root of the Me Too bullshit.
But that's assuming that I'm not trying to shit on the existence of the line. I'm trying to figure out the line, because 10 years ago the line wasn't even fucking there.
Yeah, because it moves and changes. We negotiated actively as a culture. It seems like you have an issue with the existence of the line, not a genuine curiosity about how to define it.
With the Me Too movement, the line had gotten to the point where you couldn't go eat dinner with another fucking coworker.
That is true.
So now we're in the process of bringing the line back.
You're looking for a reason to invalidate the line instead of understanding that, like, look, different people within the movement have different opinions on shit because they've had different fucking experiences, but the problem still fucking exists. Like, you're on the side of the line where, for you, what you have to lose is being accused of something, or your advances not being enjoyed. The person on the other side of the line, the millions of people that we're talking about, are on the side of the line where they're trying to avoid being raped and sexually harassed in their places of work by their friends, etc., etc. The shit ain't the same.
We're acting like the other side was these niggas are losing their jobs over false accusations too.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
let's a whole other.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I want to hear your opinion.
Those two things are not equivalent. While they both are valid, that's fine. But the threat to men's lives that is the result of, like, false accusations versus the experience that women have that caused the Me Too movement shit, it's not even fucking the same. And that's the issue here. You're looking for the line not because you want to help prevent rape or sexual assault or any of that, because you want to protect the possibility of being falsely accused, which, again, not invalid, but why are we starting there? Like, it's millions of people complaining about some shit that has been happening for decades, and the first thing that we're going is, we can't figure out what the fuck these bitches want. That's really the way we're gonna start the conversation. It's absurd.
Well, I kind of
also,
wanna...
by the way, sorry everybody, welcome to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 dating and sexual harassment podcast in the universe. It's your boy Eddie. It's Josh. Alvin is currently away, I don't know, cloning sheep or some shit. He will be back soon. We are joined by these niggas, the Suburban Boys podcast. We got Q, we got Amari standing in for E, we got Brownstein E essentially, and we're currently trying to discuss what I feel are some very toxic ideas around the whole Me Too sexual harassment shit. So
I like
get
this
into
shit.
it. Yeah.
So I want to kind of ask the question of like, you know, obviously if a man commits a heinous crime such as, you know, the R word, or, you know, something like that, you should be, you know, I'm very uptight with this stuff. I think they should be castrated or put under the, you know, the prison, stuff like that. But, you know, I just feel like they need to have severe punishments. But where is it the other way? Like, what punishments do y'all feel like is representing of that for, like, a woman that falsely accuses?
Yeah, we talked about this before, and I think the issue is we are trying to pit two things against one another when they don't need to. Like, when we are, like, you give a very brief little, like, yeah, rapists should go to jail, but there's no additional conversation about, like, okay, cool, rapists are not just a man in the bush. There's a huge prevalent problem of this happening. What can we do to address it?
You said huge of rape nowadays?
Absolutely. And so we don't want to address that.
Yeah, a lot of women are still getting raped.
And so we don't want to address that. And so, and even in your questioning it, you're like, you're thinking of it as an afterthought, like, oh, rape isn't happening that much. It's that particular kind of thing. To kind of draw that back. Conversation of false accusations, and I think that's getting away from the issue.
Okay, so you kind of draw that back. I think it's very prevalent that in our day and age that rape is not something that's accepted, and it's something that's not peddled anywhere, like, openly. So I don't feel like there's a need to even discuss the issue of rape, because that's something that's already talked about and widely dismayed upon. So I was just moving on to the things that aren't talked about at all.
Yeah.
Which
so
is,
I think the fact that you're looking to move on to that is very much evidence that we should be focusing on that first part, which is why I take issue with that thing that you were asking, because it's
what do you mean? I think it's very open. I think everybody's very on the subject of rape is horrible, and we want to stop as many rapists as possible. What
the issue is that we can't seem to come as a society to a shared conclusion about what even constitutes rape. We spent the first 15 minutes of this podcast disagreeing about the definitions, lines, and the values of those lines, and then we want to move to accusations? Absolutely not. We're not even on a shared understanding of what rape is.
We know what constitutes rape. We were talking about sexual harassment, not rape. That's complete.
Sexual harassment and rape are part of one singular continuum, bro.
Yeah, a part of a chronological order, but they're two separate things.
So you think if sexual harassment is happening a bunch, that rape isn't happening a bunch?
I never said that, but it's still.
I don't think that you did, and I don't think that you. But
it goes in the line of we know that we know it happens. We talk about it, and I think we all understand it. We're all civil human beings, and we all understand the purpose of why the things are the way they are, especially with. Often? I mean, yeah, it still happens, but everything still happens. Crack still gets moved across, even though, the 80s already happened and people already openly hate drugs about crack.
So
it's still
openly addressing.
But you don't talk about it anymore. You don't talk about it anymore. You don't talk about the crack
reform. We don't talk about drug epidemics and crime in cities.
As a general public of people, we don't need to. It's already something that's already thought about. And I think we all it can be acknowledged at certain points, but this is not a point where it needs to be acknowledged. I acknowledged it, and then I moved on. I brought it up. I said my piece about it, and I said, okay, can we quickly I just want to hear a point of view on that subject, because that's never talked about ever. No one talks about it, and when it happens, nobody talks about it. We just let it pass. I'm asking.
I don't think we're anywhere close to the kind of conclusion that you're talking about.
So if it happens to a man, if a man loses his livelihood and then the woman falsely accuses him, we're not going to talk about it either, bro. So when Johnny Depp happened, we didn't talk about it.
I'm not interested in the conversation yet, because we're still not on the same page on the larger problem.
You can't be interested in multiple conversations.
It's one at a time, absolutely. Especially if the function of the secondary conversation is to take attention away from something that is being falsely characterized as
that's not the purpose. No.
That's 100% what it is.
Or is that the fear of knowing your history and knowing how dangerous false accusations have been?
Come on, bro.
And you could just go watch the new Jadeon video where he gets falsely accused of sexual harassment. In the video, while cameras are being recorded, a white woman is on the phone with the police saying a black man is sexually harassing her over the phone. This happens way more common than you think, and it is
you think that happens. You think that happens as often or as close to as often as sexual harassment and rape happen? How close do you think those two things are?
As in, you can't quantify what I'm saying though. You can't quantify what I'm saying.
That you gave one example. That's one.
The issue, I think part of the issue is a lot of stuff that y'all don't think might be sexual assault or sexual harassment is.
And that's where it started.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Eddy is trying to get at, just as far as in terms of just having an overall healthy conversations, because we're not even at the point where we're on the same page of what constitutes as sexual harassment and assault that even kind of leads up to rape. And then to go back into men are suffering from this thing too. And what Eddy's trying to say, it's not we're not trying to have that. We're not open and willing to have that conversation, but I think we do need to get on the same page of okay, how are we defining sexual assault? How are we defining harassment?
I thought we did that. Yeah, I really thought we did
with
that.
Your definition of what sexual assault is.
Of course.
And that's all I was just saying. That's all I was asking in a funny way, because entertainment, but that's all I was asking.
Have we come to what conclusion? How would you characterize
I like the way you defined it when you said that sexual harassment is whatever the person allows you to go up to. If you go past that, then that's sexual harassment. That's how you defined it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And is there any? Do you feel like there's any issue or difficulty in doing that these days?
When you add alcohol and nuance, then it gets very, very difficult. But before that, no.
Okay. I think, but alcohol and nuance usually is pretty commonplace in these situations.
In these situations, so it gets it's a hard conversation to have because it's not really quantifiable.
Well, I think that's the more interesting thing.
With alcohol?
Yeah,
I don't know how you add. Everybody reacts different with alcohol. And then it becomes into the conversation like, is it wrong to give a woman alcohol? What if she wants alcohol to do these things? And what if she wants to do these things just off of alcohol? Like, this gets real. It gets a lot of what if, and then how does this woman react off of alcohol? And then some women react differently off of alcohol. Some women can control themselves differently off of alcohol.
I think there's different questions to like different versions of that situation. But I think a lot of times my view is just because somebody is willing to do something does like in a moment isn't always a reason for me to go forward and do it. You know what I'm saying? Like this is something I've talked about before where I'm like, just because somebody is like drunk and wants to fuck or wants to do some crazy thing when we've just met, oftentimes I think it's on you to take it on yourself to be like, no, this don't seem quite right. So that kind of thing. So I feel like that applies in a good bit of these situations. You know,
just moral responsibility.
Yeah, and being like, just because somebody agrees to something doesn't mean that that's the good moral thing to do. Because I feel like a lot of times people are kind of looking for like what they can get away with, as opposed to like just what is good in the situation. Like, hey, if I can get away with doing this, then I can't be blamed for doing it, right?
So, real quick. So wouldn't that put the so essentially what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, instead of I wouldn't say pinning the blame, I wouldn't want to say that, but for lack of a better term, I guess, instead of pinning the responsibility on the person that got drunk, and even though they're both drunk, like both parties, instead of saying, okay, the female should have done a little bit more, not drink so much and definitely take care of herself if she's going to be in that situation, instead of telling her it's like that's like putting that blame not all on her, but just like a little like saying that, you're saying that it's the man's responsibility to say then, okay, no, let me be a little bit more morally responsible even though I'm drunk. I just don't see. I think it's equal on both parties for that.
Are we saying what situation are we talking about specifically? Are we
just like when we were talking about right now about the situation of just like you saying that
both parties are drunk.
No, so two people get drunk and then what? Because I think the then what it matters in this situation. So what?
Well, I mean, the situation that you brought up, I was assuming that both were drunk. Like how you're saying, if she says I want to fuck, and you said it's moral responsibility to, say I don't.
Are you just as drunk? Are both the man and the woman both equally drunk and they both want to fuck?
Yes.
Equal.
Yes.
Cool. In a situation like that, and that's a real fair question. In a situation like that, I think whoever's of sound enough mind to go, maybe we shouldn't, should say maybe we shouldn't. I didn't say a gender. I didn't say that should be the man. But, I think I understand why you might have assumed that I was saying that, but I wasn't.
Yeah. I was sorry. That's why I was taking it as. I just want to make sure.
So because I mean, like, all right, as someone, because I understand what E and Amari are trying to say, but it just don't sound good. What y'all are saying does not sound good.
I mean, granted, most things that don't sound good nowadays are always things that shift more of the responsibility or blame really on like women. I think.
Yeah,
I think when
usually
you start
there's bad ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So like, and since there's so many like negative thoughts that people are having nowadays about women, which I feel like people should try to understand that nuance too, because that's a really large it's seemingly getting bigger as time progresses, because there's a lot of men that are having more hatred or more discontent with the women nowadays. And I think it's because that they're getting tired of the current aspect. And I think a lot of men can agree with this. They're getting tired of the current aspect of life right now, of how things are and how things are going, with how women are just, I wouldn't say like stomping through media, but just like, they just own the shit.
Well, because I was with you until you said with women. I think the issue is that a lot of valid concerns that are coming from men get lightning rodded to women as if they're the cause of those problems, when a lot of the time that is not the case. So men are angry about things that maybe they have the right to be angry about, but instead we look for an answer, and the simple answer that we get from Red Pill podcasters, from the Kevin Samuels, from the Fresh and Fit niggas is that women's behaviors, women's choices, women's thoughts, feminism is somehow the cause of all of your ailments.
Is it not?
It's a bad fucking idea.
Yeah, I might say, give me an example. Give me an example. Yeah. So give me a specific example from that, so that way I can see what you're saying. Like, give me an example of something that we direct towards women that isn't supposed to be directed towards women, so that way I can get an example.
Maybe it might be better if you gave an example of something that you think is the fault of women, and I'll see if I can break it down.
Okay. The 80-20 rule.
What's that one?
80% of the men.
80% of the
women.
No, 80% of the women are only fucking 20% of the men. And those top 20% of the men do not want them, treat them like dog shit, throw them away, and they blame all of men.
Okay.
And
so,
that's backed up with statistics because more men amongst 18 to 25 are virgins than ever before, and women are not.
1 in 3, I think.
Sure.
Women are choosing. Women are the choosers in relationships. They choose who they
not relationships.
I mean,
but like
within
intercourse.
Relationships.
Not relationships too.
Relationship too.
I would just say like more like not relationship. I would say like
not
more like the
too. I know what you're
relationship
gonna
and
say,
marriage. Yeah, relationship and
this,
marriage is owned by the men.
See that's not true because you can't. And I've made this point a few times. You can't get into a relationship with a woman who doesn't want to fuck you. So women choose who they fuck, so they also choose who they're going to marry. Now, obviously, once she selects you for marriage, you get to choose as well, but you can only choose her after she chose you. Women have way more selecting power for relationships.
I'm saying more like it's like like for instance, if I fuck a girl, I can choose not to marry her though. Like she's not going to put her. Of course, yeah, but like there's a lot of women that I think you would agree as well that you would have sexual intercourse with, but you wouldn't marry.
Sure. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So
that's
not
why
the
same thing as us having the choice because I can only get into a relationship with a woman who also wants me. And she's got more choices in that regard.
Is contingent on the man, not on the woman. That's what I'm saying. Like the proposal part is very contingent on the man.
Oh, of a ring?
Just the proposal in general.
Culturally. But even
exactly.
That feels
Culturally.
a little bit, even that feels a little bit like an afterthought. Like men do the proposal, but it's like women. Okay, so here's another question. Like how many niggas, like for any given woman's probably got 10 niggas right now that she could fuck, right?
Yeah,
or some large number, right? How many niggas have more than one woman that they could marry right now?
Very, very low.
Very few. So we can't act like it's a choice. Like you're tasked with the responsibility of proposing to the woman who has already chosen you. She has other options. You don't. Again, I'm speaking generally because there are men who have lots of options.
And I was about to say like in a general form factor.
But,
yeah.
okay,
so generally speaking.
And this is where the game has got fucked up. Like before, women didn't have this many options on a platter like this, and they're only choosing the top 20. The women our age. I don't know about y'all's age. I don't know how.
Calling y'all old.
I'm not calling y'all old.
We are
old.
We are
old. I'm just
going
I
think it's glaringly apparent in this conversation we are old. I am.
Eddie, say you going retirement.
I'm hoping for it.
That 401k in.
No, but with them making these decisions, you are seeing them be very unhappy with the men that they're fucking choosing.
And you know what really sparked that is really the internet age, just being able to be connected. Because like back then, if you're in Idaho, you had to only fuck with Idaho niggas. Now you can fuck with Drake. Like that doesn't matter. So it's like.
So here's the question, just to kind of distill this down into what you all were meant to kind of give. Is this is a thing that is causing harm to men that you believe is the fault of women? Is that right?
This is women. Yes, this is women choosing. This is them using their options. This is them choosing the top 20% men, but not realizing how they're going to get treated by those top 20% men.
Now, granted, like just because we blame women for something doesn't mean that we're angry at women for something. I just think that's definitely a woman's.
Women. So the idea is women are to blame for the sexlessness of some large percentage of men because those women are spending their time having sex with more attractive men.
Not just the sexlessness. Women are to blame for the constant for one the how do you say this? How do you say this? The making sex not seem important, like making it not seem as
being more promiscuous.
Women are to blame for the casual sex movement that they cause on themselves, which neurologically they don't even like. And women are to blame for them choosing these horrible men, not horrible, but they're choosing these, horrible. Women are to blame for them because they're the ones who are choosing these niggas that are niggas ain't shit. They're the ones who are choosing these men that are treating them like they ain't shit.
Okay, so I've got two questions there. So one, what is the role that you think that the men that you're saying are treating women poorly play in this kind of equation?
The lying, the selling a dream, if they're doing both of those things, that's where men get really fucked up in the situation. That's where men
How do you mean?
The saying you're the only one and end up cheating on them.
I mean, granted cheating happens. I mean, granted, we can say that, but I was just like, what you really had me with was when you mentioned the promiscuous, like how women will make a problem and then blame it on the men, like men ain't shit. Like they will make the problem of being casually promiscuous and then also opening themselves up and then dating foul men and then calling it on all men as men ain't shit. I was really with you on that. I don't know what you're going with right now, but
here's the problem where men. That was the problem that women have with it.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me the problem that men face in it. That's where I'm going right now.
And what were you saying?
Because what I'm trying to get at is, it seems a little bit, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but it seems a little bit like you're saying women are to blame for certain attractive men treating them badly, and for those men having sex with lots of women, and that seems like it is placing blame for something that takes two groups on one group.
That's not.
There is two groups to blame if the man is stepping out. Like it's two groups to blame if the man is fucking up. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
But it's the women. Okay,
and that seems to be the case in your example.
I mean, I'm not with what you're exactly saying. I'm really just like the point I was really with, and the point that I think is directly contingent on women is just like the men ain't shit movement. Like that is by far like something that women definitely are the sole responsibility for. And,
so we're talking about the niggas.
I mean, if we want to,
I just want to clarify because it seems like y'all are talking about two different things.
Yeah, we definitely are.
Toss one off. So, do y'all want me to talk about the niggas ain't shit thing or the sexless men generation thing?
Let's talk about the niggas ain't shit thing because you had asked me a different question that was about something else.
Yeah.
And that's where I answered the different question.
Well, because I wanted to clarify because you all gave what seemed like one example. Okay, cool. We'll talk about niggas ain't shit rather than the incel thing. So the niggas ain't shit thing, you think that is causing major problems for men and that women are to blame for it?
I think it's the so if we extrapolate that from one that core idea of men ain't shit, it makes it to where now women become weary on men, like weary of like what men they take, but then they also get this idea that every nigga's gonna mess with them and like just toy with their hearts, and they end up still choosing the wrong men instead of just like the celibates, the men that couldn't even, like, they still choose this higher up demographic.
Let me
which
ask
granted,
you a question. Is there do you get the sense that men who, because what you're talking about is, you said up, but I think what you're kind of getting at is men that they find very attractive. Is that a fair characterization?
Or have a lot of money?
I mean, I would say more of just like just a success. Yeah, I guess you can say attractive, but successful, but attractive in different, more than ways that
choosing men that they're not attracted to, but that are successful.
Well, because attraction can go many ways for a woman. That's what I was trying to say. That's why I was Well,
because I think attractive might be useful because the question is, do we think that men that women are less attracted to treat them better? Because for what you're saying to work, that would have to be the case.
I think
so. You're saying they're choosing up instead of choosing the examples that you gave were incels, celibates, etc., etc.
Celibate, yes.
Celibates. Is there something to suggest that those men would treat them better? And if so, where are we getting that from?
I mean, granted, it's more of like you won't know until you try type thing. So it's like we can't confirm or deny.
Okay.
It's because I know a lot of, granted, I can go off of anecdotes which aren't really the best, but still, like, I think we all know a big number of men that are celibate or just don't or have struggled with women, but would be a pretty awesome guy because they have a great personality and you talk to them personally. Because us guys, we talk to a lot of guys. 1 out of 4 guys are usually still virgins and stuff, especially under 21. So it's like I know a lot of people in my job that they have never even thought of trying to get with a girl because like they struggle. And I think they'll be awesome guys for women because they're sweet, they're nice, they make a lot of money. So it's like I would think they'll be cool.
Let me ask you this: like, it's not necessarily, it's hard, but that's still kind of difficult to just pin that all on women because like everybody is responsible for approaching someone in the way that would be acceptable socially in a sense. Because if a girl like, say for instance, like put yourself in reverse order, like in the other person's shoes. If a girl that would be like really good for you, like, but you might not really be that attracted to her, and if she was trying to get at you, but she wasn't really coming at you right, you wouldn't really be feeling her, and that's of no fault of your own. So I think it's like the same way because a lot of these guys don't know how to approach women and have fucked up ideals in their head of where these lines are when it should be like a clear line.
And let me go back on what you were saying because you first started by saying like we can't. It's very imprudent to pin this all on women. I still think that regardless and when I say pin, I'm not trying to sound angry. I'm not sounding like I hate women or I'm mad at women for this. I just like we gotta send responsibility where they need to be because the men ain't shit. Most of the movement that women created their own problem. In that sense, like the powers that be wanted to make women more promiscuous and things like of that nature, and because of that this is the cause and effect. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I mean by this caused. This is the pin the blame on because the women.
What circle of women are y'all hanging around with? I mean, because bro, like there's so much layered shit in what you saying, like the whole men ain't shit movement. And by the way, I'm all for holding accountable, like for any damn body. Like I'm probably the least liked on this podcast in terms of like perception of women because I try to call people out on their shit regardless of gender, like because I'm all for accountability. Not talking about punishment, but accountability. But bro, like I don't think it's accurate to say that the men ain't shit movement like just appear out of anywhere. Yeah, like it's not. I don't think it's
it happened because men ain't.
Real quick, I ain't done yet.
But it was a top tier woman or top tier man.
Give Josh a second, real quick.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's accurate to say or to make it seem like the men ain't shit movement kind of came out of nowhere and then it just caused men all this damage when niggas ain't been shit for millennia. And I know, of course, it's always good guys, but like if we talking about in the overall ratio of like how relationships been working, especially in the black community, bro, yes. Like, bro, like it's been, and it's, of course, like there's a whole bunch of other shit that goes into it, but that's just why I said that's so layered. But there's still a lot of trauma and damage that women have been placed through, especially women of color, that have led to the niggas ain't shit movement. And and I don't think I think when you actually go out and talk to a lot of real people and have genuine conversations where you're just trying to come to a common ground, you'll see that most of them are relatively sane and like say, okay, well, yeah, I know how guys can be, but I know that, they're not all niggas ain't like that. It's not just some total men ain't shit, and then now we have this huge influx of incels who can't get no pussy and they're miserable.
I think men ain't shit is not a I think the women being promiscuous movement is a lot. A lot of them being promiscuous is a lot of their downfall.
I think it
go.
I think it expedited their like, or not expedited, but it increased the men ain't shit because they were not the promiscuous really thing, but just like when the internet age opened up and then people started dating who they found like the top tier men, like they dating the number one and like the number one's not really liking them that much, doing them dirty, fucking them and then not calling back and stuff like that. That's really increased the men ain't shit because like honestly, like when I was from like all the way up to like 18, 19, I wasn't hearing really much about like women having a strong contention about men ain't shit like that until it was like when women, like when I was around like 16 it started. That's when it really like started really getting like hot. Of like people were like fuck men shit like that. That's why I'm thinking
when you hear women say some version of men ain't shit, what things are they usually talking about? Like if you had to summarize like an average view of a person who believes hey men ain't shit, could you summarize what her beliefs are?
You want to take this or you want me to?
No, I was asking you specifically, Amari.
Oh, okay. I think it's more of like the people would, obviously it will go straight to cheating and then also just like being treated right in terms of just like guys trying to take them out and take it like a traditional man. Like, so it's the exact opposite of a traditional man of what that's what they're not getting. And that's what they're saying men ain't shit for.
So when you hear women say men ain't shit, it tends, in your estimation, it tends to be them complaining about men not following traditional masculine roles of like providership and fidelity and that kind of thing. Is that what? Okay, no, I see. Yeah, I think that maybe the issue that maybe Josh and I are both taking with that is that the conversation of around like niggas ain't shit seems to, at least to us from the circles that we're kind of dealing in, to be much larger than that. So I think, yeah, maybe they're two separate kinds of conversations, because when I think
and granted, I get what y'all are trying to say, because y'all are going into a more bigger picture approach, which I understand, I appreciate, because you're talking about like the followerless rates and single mother households and stuff of that nature.
Mean, we're talking about like gaslighting in relationships. We're talking about like uneven household labor division within relationships.
I mean, granted, gaslighting, I mean, that's a more nuanced argument. We can that's like something that can happen, that can be in men and women, and like there's a lot like that, like, when it comes to relationships, that can like not most of the time, especially with marriages, majority of marriages are ended by women. So, and it's usually
slow your roll, because I think you took a single part of what I said and found something to be offended about instead of kind of taking what's being said and then went off into a kind of a tangent about another thing to complain about, which I don't think is very constructive.
I wasn't really trying to complain. I was just saying like it's so
if I could finish out that point, what I would say is, when it comes to when I say gaslighting, I'm referring to a very specific brand of condescending dismissal that happens in relationships that does come from men. It doesn't mean that women can't also do it, but what I'm referring to is a specific male behavior included within a list of other things that is also on that list. So even if you want to say of gaslighting or of the other things on that list.
No, the gaslighting. I'm sorry. Can you give me an example of the gaslighting that are specific toward men?
So, like, for example, the household labor thing that we talk about a lot. There's a situation where men will often take the concerns of women that are valid, but maybe articulated in a way that's like considered to be emotional by men, and then act as if women are crazy for this particular belief. Such as the usual one is like, why would I want to do dishes? And then when a person says, well, of course I wouldn't want to do dishes, they're then in a position to be able to gaslight their partner as if what their partner is asking for is absurd, when they're actually just asking for a partner to show up for them half the time. That kind of behavior happens often.
Okay. Yeah,
I think we've gone way too far off of men ain't shit, because I like the original topic of the why did the men ain't shit thing happen, and then why is it also so fucking bad? Because for years, women have controlled media. It's simply the fucking truth. That they were the ones consuming it. So for years, you've had toxic ass shows since Oprah. So 90s, 2000. You have women on TV talking about mutilating men on The View, running around laughing about it. You've seen women in media be very toxic towards men, and no one hold them accountable. And I think like your dismissal of because this has been a topic that we've had for a very long time, that we've been talking about for a very long time. And your dismissal of red pill has been like, fighting toxicity with toxicity is wrong, but like there's a reason that it's been bubbled up in men, and men have just been able to just hey fuck it, you just got to take it. You just got to take Oprah just gaslighting Dave Chappelle.
And again, I think the answer to that question is what you already said, that fighting toxicity with more toxicity is a very stupid plan, especially when the population that you're trying to deal with is people that all of us want happy, healthy relationships with. These are not enemy occupying forces. Our goals are to be, for men and women and every other type of gender, to be friends, to enter into relationships with one another, to be in community with one another. So fighting toxicity with toxicity in order to win a war is a bad plan. That's why I say that.
Wouldn't you say men and shit was toxic then?
Again, fighting toxicity with toxicity
so you agree
is
then,
a bad plan.
So you agree that like women doing
Don't get me wrong, right? The issue that I have with the style of argument that I see that takes the form of what you're sort of doing during this conversation is that we're taking one thing that is true, that blanket saying that all men are terrible is probably a not good constructive idea. We're taking that truth and then running off the fucking deep end into feminism doesn't make sense, into all of these ideas related to
Where'd you get that from?
that are nonsense.
Really doesn't.
you see what I'm saying?
Where,
So
where'd
that's
you
where
get
the
that?
issue
I
comes
didn't
from.
say that though. I
No,
wasn't
I
making
didn't,
an argument.
and I didn't say that you did. The issue is
Okay,
that
okay,
so
okay.
often the conversation starts there and ends somewhere fucking crazy. So, and during this conversation, we're acting like niggas ain't shit has been the primary source of issues in society, as opposed to many niggas not being shit being the primary cause. So you want to get an agreement about like, oh, we shouldn't say all niggas ain't shit, and like, cool, fair enough. But the underlying dog whistle there that I think is the argument you're trying to build is that the niggas ain't shit ideology is the cause of all these major things in society, when it's like,
Well,
not really.
didn't you just do the
Like the
same?
Oprah
Didn't
thing.
you just? I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Real quick then, the Oprah thing, for instance, that you gave about like them mutilating men and all that kind of shit. I agree. We should not be lifting up talk shows that make light of men being raped, of men being mutilated, of infant babies being, sexually assaulted by women. All of that. Those things are bad. But we're not going to sit up here and pretend like those things being said on those talk shows has led to as many bad outcomes as men's behavior towards women. If you look at the fucking stats, it's not even fucking close in terms of the number of men fucking up, killing, and raping women versus the reverse of that. It doesn't mean that one isn't non-existent, or it doesn't mean that one is non-existent, but they're not the same. Let's not bullshit. So, but Amari, you were going to say something. Sorry if I...
Yeah, no. Trust me. I'm sorry for cutting you off. No, and I agree with what you're saying, and I do agree that there is it's definitely the numbers are definitely showing that and I think it has more to do with men just being the more aggressors. They're just more they're more dominant, so I think
it's socialization as well, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that too. But I still feel like it's because the argument you were saying about how you say toxicity mixed with other toxicity does not mix well, and it's not a good combative force to fight
Not
something with.
Yeah,
exactly. But the thing is that I feel like it's still like, because I see you always you tend to fight the men's perspective a lot instead of
like this, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and then like when we bring up one with like the women's perspective that they do the exact same thing, I just see you just like veer off of it. Well, granted, you did discuss it at the very end when you did say that Oprah should not, that's still bad on her end.
Do you understand why I do that though?
Of course, I think it's just more of like the sake of the argument. Like you don't want to show conceding. You don't want to show yourself conceding to an argument. I guess,
bro, it's because it's dangerous. Like some of the things.
Okay.
I know y'all are not like bad guys. Like y'all are not out here
Mm-hmm.
R-wording women, but
No.
that line of thinking can be dangerous because there's a lot of men out here who it's like they just don't get it. And like I said, because a lot of times men have what men don't think is sexual assault is. And that's crazy. So like, and a lot of times like that, the verbiage, a lot of the verbiage of what y'all are saying can be dangerous. That's why he's making that pushing back on what you're saying.
But the thing is, for me, is like, and I understand that there is, but we have to understand why there is that type of men out there. Like,
because I don't think you fully understand why I'm hesitant to engage, why I'm not interested really in engaging with the whataboutism thing. So the issue is, it's kind of I'm going, hey, there's a house on fire, and you're going, hey, there's lots of there's another like there's a tree on fire.
House on, yeah.
Or not even a house. There's a tree on fire.
A tree.
Like,
okay,
hey, maybe that needs to be put out. And we're going, hey, let's focus on the fucking house. And you're going, what, you don't care about trees? What about the trees? And so the issue is, the reason that you're bringing these arguments up is not to address them in earnest. Because if you were, we could have those conversations. Because we have those conversations on this pod constantly. That's actually a big part of what we talk about. The issue is that these things are being brought up primarily as a way of, you might deny doing that, but throughout the course of this conversation, I think it's very clear that that's what you're doing, even if unintentionally, is to distract from the validity and the importance of the house that's on fire. Like during this conversation, you said rape. During this conversation, you said that rape and sexual assault is not something that we actively need to still address. That's absurd. The house is still on fire, and you're worried about a tree and wondering why I don't want to rally all the firefighters to go put a fucking tree out. I'm not interested. The house is still on fire.
I don't think that's not what I was doing, because I'm saying that.
Oh no, I'm addressing one thing at a time, obviously.
Okay. But I was never on the fact that the house wasn't on fire. The house is on fire. We need to put the house out. Anybody that's in the house, we need to get the motherfuckers out. Anybody that causes the house fires, we need to fucking kill. I am full agreement of all of that shit. I'm saying the tree was never talked about, and we just gonna let all the fucking trees burn. Like, the tree is never talked about. So let's have the conversation about the tree.
I'm happy to talk trees, but we've been doing a lot of house denial during this podcast. So until we agree, you haven't been stepping up when Amari has. So if we're in that situation, do I need to pause?
Oh no. He's about to get Ethan. I think Ethan just snuck a. You want to pause?
Cool. No, all good. I just thought that maybe he was like resetting.
Okay, yeah. So
like the issue is, if we agree about the house, what actions need to happen, and what changed behaviors need to happen, then cool, we can talk about the tree. I'm not seeing that. So until that happens, I'm not talking about the tree.
I get you, and I perfectly see your perspective about that. You know, you it's in a ordered format. Here, let me let Ethan sit down. Are you about to sit down, Ethan? Yeah. Here. All right, here. I'm gonna let Ethan sit down here. I'm about to go in the back. I'll see y'all guys. It was nice meeting you, Army, Eddie, and Josh.
Already, G, likewise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna still talk some more over here, but they're not gonna see me anymore.
You're not gonna see the Lucky Charms on the hoodie. Come on.
Oh yeah, see that's gone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
Because I'm in full agreement of what you're saying, Eddie. I am in a full. There is no. Oh, let me fill you in. So it started off with me making a joke. Okay. About Me Too. Actually, not a bad joke.
Was a bad joke.
I don't think it was a joke.
Bad joke. It was a joke.
It was a funny belief. You stated something you believe funny.
I was like, is it really sexual harassment if the girl is attracted to you? Because once the girl is attracted to you, you know what I'm saying, you get away with a lot more, right? And then I was like, it's really, but that might have to get taken out. But that probably should get taken out. Please take that out and start the shit at the intro.
I mean, shit, if you want me to take all the crazy shit, I mean, look, obviously I will if you ask, but if you want me to take all the crazy shit out that you said, it's just going to be the outro on this bitch,
the first part of what I said, I think the first part
be an outro.
I think if we started.
Hey, everybody, bye, everybody. This has been E and Q.
Yeah. I think we started at the intro, like where you would like cut everybody off and was like, what's it called? Hey, welcome to the thing. I think that should be okay. Everything after that was like kind of constructive.
One thing I will agree
with, except for the Amari rape thing. What?
I don't know what he's talking about. But one thing I like, and I can definitely how you argue, Eddie. It's definitely
so the argument is, if she's attracted to you, then all right, basically sexual assault is basically based on how like attracted to you she is. Is what you saying?
Essentially, but not fully.
I mean, we're not even on that discussion.
But then it turned into like, then where's the women's accountability in the men ain't shit movement? And then that's where.
Yeah, we went through a bunch of stuff of me addressing why these statements didn't make any fucking sense.
We can just talk.
I mean, I don't need a fucking minute by minute recap.
No.
Just say the last thing that you said. Why we even filling this nigga in, man? He should have been here if he wanted to. Just say what you were saying, Q.
So
make a statement.
He'll catch up. He knows what's going on. So Q, you were saying you were in agreement with what I've said, but your issue is
I'm in agreement of everything that you're saying about like men have played a huge factor in the men ain't shit movement. Men being not shit to women is the reason why we got here in the fucking first place. But all I was saying is that the red pill movement and everything that has been going on and all of this shit that has been happening is just addressing the trees, because the trees is still half the fucking population.
I think, for sure. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't address the trees. I'm not even saying that there shouldn't be a secondary firefighting team to address the trees. That's fine. The issue is when the niggas putting out the tree fires are complaining about people trying to put the house fire out. And I see a lot of that behavior. And I think that's an issue. If you're like, hey, look, we're the arborist society. We're here to protect trees. Cool, not a problem. But once you start saying these goddamn houses on fire, they're the reason that the trees is on fire. All these motherfuckers focused on putting the houses up, but they not focused on the trees. This is then when you start to get into ridiculous behavior where you're pitting two things against one another that don't need to be pitted against one another.
And if I did that, then you know what I'm saying, waving the red flag, you know, audience, I'm sorry, but my purpose is to not take attention away from the house fire, but it is to acknowledge the house fire and be like, hey, that shit is wrong. We should condemn any men that does those behaviors, that goes past those lines, that fucks up. He should get everything taken away from him. Agreed. But hey, these are some other issues that men are facing.
I'm with that, and I think that's totally fair. I think one thing that I would take issue with what you said is that I think there's this real distancing language, and I understand why. Like, I totally get it, but I think there's this distancing language when we talk about rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, inappropriate, you know, sexual misconduct, when we try and do this thing where we say like these men, those men who do this, and we go, we would never. That's crazy. It's a nigga in the bushes kind of language, which I think is kind of what both you and Amari earlier kind of employ of like, we agree they should be like even to the point where you get extreme, like we should chop their dicks off and burn them and barbecue them and throw them in the ocean. It's like, okay, cool, we get it. This seems more like a display than it does an actual like desire to like break down the issue, like that rape is only being done by just like boogeymen rapists instead of it being the manager at a coffee shop making one too many advances to his employee at the register, being, you know, a husband coercing or pressuring or saying, baby, why can't we? Why you always got a headache to his wife? Like, we're not talking about those kind of situations. So it's always like, any nigga that's a rapist, fuck this nigga. But we don't want to talk about the ways that type of behavior is normal and should be addressed. And even the ways that we do shit that we shouldn't be doing. That's too much. That's over the line. And so that's where I take issue.
I think that that's a valid point in terms of like men crossing the line, because men definitely do cross the line, but also to a certain degree, women like men who are a certain degree of persistence, right? Some women will be like, yo, to be honest, I wanted you to like, you know, convince me more, or like, cause I'm personally like, and like, you know, no means no, right? Like niggas can tell you, I'll walk the fuck away.
Sure.
But some women have actually told me to my face, like, yo, if you had, you know, pressed more or gone further down the quote unquote line, I would have fucked with it.
So let
I
me ask
think
you a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're right? Do you think that their view on how sexual interaction should happen is right?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Do I think it's right personally?
Or
not
morally?
Really. Morally? Well,
like, do you think the way that they're asking men to conduct themselves is the way that men should conduct themselves?
No, because I don't think it's safe for men, because most men are like, I think it's better than you be safe than sorry. You see what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
So no, I don't think that's a way men should operate, but I'm saying to a certain degree, women do encourage that persistent, you know, go like, see how far you can push behavior.
Sure. Then I think that there's a pretty clean conclusion there, which is like, you don't want to do it. You think it's a bad behavior. You think that it's a bad behavior, even when women encourage it. I don't see much of a disagreement here. All you're pointing out is that there are bad behaviors that men do, and to some extent, women participate in these allowing, permitting, or sort of propagating these bad behaviors. But we all should be condemning them, men and women alike. I think that all fits together pretty cleanly.
Agreed.
I think the main issue I'm having is just the premise and the thought process of that we have to say that for some reason all activities that we do as a men has to be condemned and said that it's completely wrong on our side, when it's like there are like, for instance, if I go up to a girl and if we're talking, and then if I put because I think this is the same point that Q was making, that when I put my arm around a girl, there's a lot of girls that would commonly in this day and age say that that's sexual harassment, when it's just a form of, like, it's just me making the next move, the next step in the date. And so that's what I think, that's the main contingent that I'm having with like the whole, you know, sexual assault business of everything, because it's a very tight line. And if we keep on saying that men are wrong for these steps, it's going to keep on making it to where men are going to have more detest and hatred for, like, because you granted, no matter how big your podcast becomes, you can't touch everyone. And there are going to be people that don't get touched by this podcast and see that this segment, and they'll still think that, you know, their ignorant mindset will think, bro, this is all because of women. So it's like, it's just fostering up more and more hate for like the pushbacks that we're having from men of like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. And I think that's still important to discuss.
I think that oh, you want to speak on top?
No, good.
Oh, because he was talking about the point of like, you know, like on a date rap, like, you know, showing them like physical attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for men personally, like I said, I'm more of a safe than sorry nigga. You should wait for the girl to initiate that type of thing first before that type of stuff starts to happen. Personally, if we're talking about, you know, like grabbing, you know, putting your arm around her and, you know, all the physical touch type of stuff.
But when you are in the,
we wait until Chinese New Year for that to happen.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
I think most.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
But like the thing about it is like really what we should all be focusing on is the communication around it, communicating what that person likes, because no, men aren't monolithic, women aren't monolithic, so. The ideal situation would be to communicate, what do you like? How do you like to be approached? Are you a physical touch person? Are you a words of affirmation person? Like, you know, and that conversation should be normalized
and
to be had between men and women.
Yeah, and environment matters. Like you can do certain things in the club that you can't do at a workplace.
I'm referring to a date setting, not the club.
And you can do certain things on a date that you can't do at a club.
That's kind of my initial question for Amari was like, because I've never seen a woman say that she felt sexually harassed because a man that she was on a date with put his arm around her. So can you elaborate on the context that women are saying this?
Oh, yeah, I get you. And where it really derives from is just like, I feel like it mainly happens in situations of just, I mean, granted, I see it more in a date setting, not in like you know, at work. I see a lot of people, for instance, at my job, and this might just be anecdotes for all I know, but like women that will go on dates with some of the other coworkers, which granted, that's not even a good idea in and of itself, but they'll, and they'll come back and they'll just be like, yeah, he's like you would, they wouldn't report, but they would talk about like being SA'd, and that's their code for it. Okay. And then they would, you know, basically the guy would either, I wouldn't say get fired, but he would definitely transfer as quick as hell.
What would, could you be specific? Like, could you give a specific example? Like what specifically happened?
I guess so. His name is
no name.
You gotta give name. That thing started with the.
I think it says Social Security.
I got his driver's license right here. Don't worry about it, y'all.
Whoa. This motherfucker is literally shit. I said specific. He went in the goddamn lawyer legislation. What the fuck?
This is
Exhibit
legend or
nothing.
Your Honor,
that's Jesus Christ.
No. His fake name. Sorry.
Just tell me what the fuck happened. I didn't say who it was, where they were. You nigga giving timestamps and time zones and shit.
He lives at 3414.
I'm not seeing my receipts right now from the messages. Not playing, but basically, while they were all going to the movies, I think while they were walking there, they were he tried to put his hands. I think he saw like the way the situation apparently happened was just that it was around the arm. Like just like around the body, like just try to put his arm around the body of the girl. I think he was on the. I don't know if it was on the waist or on the shoulder. I didn't ask that, so maybe if it was on the waist, maybe that could be a little
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
On a date?
On a date, still, yeah, it's still kind of
on a date.
From zero, but from zero. From zero to waste is crazy.
Yeah.
From zero to wait. Straight from wait. If you're walking her to like the restaurant and you put your arm around her waist
on a first date, you don't know, old girl. You don't even, because this is the first date. This is to decide if y'all even fucking like each other.
That right now is that you get bitches, bro. That's all I'm hearing.
No way. I'm just asking a question, bro, for real, because we might not have to. You know what I'm saying? Because this is
why we need to have this conversation, because we literally aren't even agreeing on what this shit means. So yeah, no, ask your question. Let's talk about it.
For real, but
you see why I didn't want to fucking talk about trees?
I don't want to blow up and then be like, oh, this nigga just actively makes fun of sexually assaulting. We're like, bro, we just having the conversation. I'm just asking the question.
That's just crazy.
if you're walking with
first
the
date?
girl on the first date, putting you so you can do around the shoulder, like but you can't do around the way. I'm just asking the fucking question.
I would say yes. I think it's already been asked and answered by at least 2 people. Yeah, I would say that's a bit much.
I wouldn't even put my arm
around the waist.
Just
And Josh says he probably wouldn't even do the shoulder. So
yeah,
can we start with like basic hand grabbing first? Like, can we? Like,
yeah, I would say hand touching, high fives, handshakes.
Establish
shoulder
first,
taps.
Establish like the vibe, the first point of physical touch, like start with patty cake.
Hey, if Shorty dap you up, you shouldn't get no more closer to her.
No, but like you just gotta understand the situation. Like if you just start the date and if you're about to go out to the dinner, like at least wait until after dinner, after she dinner first. Let the girl eat and then let her feel her tummy, and then she might be like, I'll let this nigga like just put like handshake me, or do a dap, like Eddie's did.
Bad. You gotta you can't go to third base. Like you gotta like that's not third base, but in terms of like
there's shit in between.
We got it.
This is the issue. We're having a conversation about like, because Amari brought this point up as like women are like they're crazy that like they think that like being grabbed around the way. If you go out in an interaction, things progress, and it's not just about what you can get away with or what this woman will let you do to her. It's going, has this person reciprocated interest? Have they indicated to me that not only will they let me touch them, but they want me to touch them and they want to touch me? Have we laughed together? Has she, tapped my fucking chest when I made a joke? Have we, done a little fist bump or something? Has she touched my back? Has she, like, all that little shit? And I understand those cues can be difficult to read, and I'm totally game for it, because I do think a conversation about specifics and what the rules should be and how they should change should happen. But I think it should be come to with an open ear as opposed to this defensive-ness. Going from 0 to grabbing someone around their waist is wild. and again, if you were hanging out with a homeboy, and this is the first time y'all are hanging out, and you don't realize maybe this might be a romantic situation because you didn't realize that, him going from 0 to that would be a lot. Because there would be other shit that happens before that where you would indicate, hey, maybe I'm not into this, right? There might be a laugh, there might be a touch, there might be a knee tap where you go, maybe not. But if this nigga goes from 0 to grabbing you around your waist, you're gonna go, this is kind of a lot.
Okay, that's what I was talking about before. Like, if a girl likes you, she'll make like subtle physical contact with you first. Honestly,
what?
It's the truth.
Make physical contact with
subtle.
Like what?
Subtle. Like what he said. Like when she laughs, she might touch you a little bit. Or
the girl. Some girls are very shy and timid, and they won't do any of that. And
that's true, because my girl.
Then you fucking let it rock. It's not complicated.
Sat across the couch from me for like a week.
Yeah, that's fine. It seems like y'all are implying that if a woman is too shy, you have to do shit that might be sexual assault to move shit forward. And my point is, if shit ain't moving forward, then maybe you just let it die out, because, like he said, it's better to be safe than sorry. If you don't go far enough, right, if you don't go far enough, you just got a girl sitting on the other side of your bed for 6 months and your time was wasted. If you do the opposite, rape and sexual assault are happening. Like, come on. Between the two choices available, why is it so bad that maybe you might not get to fuck somebody? Like, why is that so horrible that it's worth risking raping somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I like that we're having this conversation. Again, this is just a fucking conversation. I am very scared.
Yeah, for sure. Because what you're saying underneath, but it's like it's the defensiveness that you're coming with that's fucking with me. It's like if you're like, hey, what are the rules? Like, what are the conversations? I'm happy to have that, but you're like, you're going, these rules are wrong. Like, you're starting with an argument instead of a question, and that's coming across crazy.
I didn't say the rules were wrong.
I think
I got it.
We said you shouldn't put your
went out.
No, yeah, camera went out. We got to close it in a bit, but yeah.
But no, on a side note, I was about to say, Eddie, I'm so glad.
Wait, is y'all's camera good?
Oh no. He's about to fix it right now. He's just like,
okay,
yeah,
it happens. But I do want to say, I really do appreciate that you're having these type of conversations with like, especially with these guys. These guys don't know how to argue, so it's so funny to see that. But like, I
just got here.
It's really good to see like somebody of like your intellect, like having these discussions about like women and like especially defending like that side, because Grant, there are not a lot of men like you having that side of like fighting for that side. You going into in depth about why it's wrong. and I think it's going to be it's a good angle to hit.
Yeah, I hope the conversation ends up being constructive in the final edit. And yeah, I appreciate you all being. I mean, obviously, you're game to come through, but yeah, they're conversations worth having because the thoughts that you all are expressing, though I have some deep issues with them, like you said, a lot of people have them. So I'm hoping that by the end of these conversations, folks who maybe share those beliefs are at least a little bit more willing to question some of them.
Yeah, we definitely should.
Of course, and SB is the most consensual podcast on the planet. We say that all the time. I do not do any of the shit that I am saying on the podcast. I've never went from zero to waist grabbing. If anything, I have lost women because of how consensual I am. And I am so okay with losing women by not making those aggressive first moves. I am not aggressive at all when it comes to that, but I'm just coming from the perspective of a young nigga that wants to know where those lines are.
Yeah, and I don't even have all that. I definitely don't literally I know especially old boy who probably just met me with this. It's like I'm arguing this hard just because y'all are the niggas that I'm talking to. If I was talking to somebody else who had a little bit more nuanced or beliefs that were closer to mine, we've had these conversations of like, can you talk to a girl from your work? Can you talk to a girl from the gym? I think those are valid conversations, but the problem is so many niggas are coming to that of like, instead of saying, can I, they're going, why can't I? And I think that's a terrible way to start the conversation and is the problem. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think you should approach any girl that can't get out of the situation.
That's a great point. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So gym, you can't get out of the situation. Nope. Work, you can't get out of the situation unless you leave the work, which is horrible. Like you shouldn't have to relocate because you shot at somebody.
That's crazy.
Like, yeah.
I don't think a gym is a bad place. I mean, granted, it's not the best place.
No, I don't think you should shoot at anybody.
I would recommend shooting at the gym. I would not recommend it.
I think school is gonna endlessly be. It's not
school.
You
can do it.
Yeah, because you get out of class.
Yeah, I mean, come on, like.
School, you can
I don't know. Because I was just thinking like you can't.
Meet, like
true, but I was like, if the rule is you can't get out of it, I'm like. Now you got to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you
can't just get out of class.
Exactly. So I'm like, that rule is kind of like.
Class should be off limits. I think class should be off limits.
It's not concrete. It's not general enough.
I think class should be off limits.
I can see that. And so you say like it's in between classes or in like in situations where it's like, hallways or on the quad, that kind of library. Right.
Yeah,
you don't have to be around there indefinitely. Yeah.
Okay, but what if it's a girl in your class?
Huh?
What if the girl is in your class?
You can't talk to
them. Okay, all right. How about this? You was dating a girl one semester. Next semester come around. Okay, you dating a girl.
Y'all didn't
have classes together. Next semester come around. You got class together. What you doing?
That's a hostage situation, bro. That's a hostage situation. You got to break up.
First shot, initial shot. First time you seen her. First shot, initial shot. Shouldn't be in the class.
I think the issue is that niggas come in too hot with their shoots shotted or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta.
I agree.
It gotta be a little bit more like I think the issue is not just like can the other person get out of this situation? It's like, is your first attempt something that requires them to like go, no, I don't want to have sex with you. Like that. If so, it's probably too fucking strong. Like hey. Like what I like that book. Like cool. That can be a conversation that turns into nothing, or it could become something. But niggas come into like, hey, by the way, like you're beautiful, nigga. What the fuck? Like that's way too much too soon. Like that's crazy. Like especially if it's in a captive situation.
I think this should be taught in schools.
I don't disagree. I'm with that. I think because I do think it's complicated. I do think it's complicated. I think
we should learn how to have sex, learn how to please a woman in school. Because all sex education is in America is don't have sex. If you have sex, put condom on.
Yeah, and it's like they're not even talking about the clitoris. That shit don't even get mentioned in the niggas class.
Not for boys.
It don't even get mentioned in the boys class. That shit is crazy, bro.
Crazy.
But also like you know how puritanical shit is in the South. Like they not gonna let niggas teach a pussy eating class in school. Like people be up in arms.
Why not?
We need we need a pussy eating class in school.
No, because then you gotta have a dick sucking class in school, and that's just like you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And then you gotta have like, and then you gotta teach both because niggas suck dick and girls eat pussy, and now you just gotta get that from home. I mean, pause. You gotta learn
turn
that.
Into elective. It can be an elective. It's an elective. It's an elective.
It's an elective, right?
Because you don't even really gotta eat pussy to please a woman. You really just gotta use your thumb on the clitoris. That's a real cheat code for niggas. You know what I'm saying? I just figured that shit out.
Yeah, all right, yeah. You don't have to, but I feel like the tongue can do a lot of shit the thumb can't. The thumb ain't got but like 2 joints in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my thumb.
Yeah, but if you put that bitch in a circle, it's magical.
Okay. I don't play video games that much, so. Oh shit! This nigga had to.
If I learned the thumb technique in school, I would have had at least 8 months of longer relationships. Way more.
It would have been extended by 8 months.
Yeah, we want that for you. We want you, and we want that for them too, honestly, because
relationships getting saved by
just giving terrible dick for 8 months.
I don't know what to tell you,
bro. The fact that most women haven't even came in their life is kind of a sad statistic.
And we wonder why they said niggas ain't shit. Come on.
Now.
The science is right there. The numbers is right there. The numbers is right
man
there.
ain't making them come.
Look, man, I'm gonna tell you this right the fuck now. If you see a nigga coming at you with the vibrating thumb but don't know how to eat pussy, you might be seeing a red flag. But at the same time, if you're having these conversations about like what the rules are about sexual harassment from a defensive stance as opposed to an open stance, it's probably you that's waving the red flag. There's been Waving the Red Flag podcast, joined by the Suburban boys. We got Q, we got E, we got Amari off camera. Y'all want to let folks know where they can follow you, where they can send their hate mail, obviously, to like your
Pornhub. I'm on all Pornhub platforms.
The Suburban Boys podcast on Pornhub.
On Pornhub.
Yes, we have 4 episodes on Pornhub.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's good.
I don't know if this is the road to getting canceled, but
like I said, anything I said in here, I am so sorry.
I wasn't here.
He wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
I do not do any of the thing. I was just.
Now we're gonna need to have Amari come back on camera just so we can put a face to like the hate that people might have, so we can see all 3 of y'all. Because he gonna end up getting the flack of what the fuck Amari said. He wasn't even here. Come through, stick that head in. Come on, have some courage. Stand on what you said. There we go.
Y'all kiss. Oh, my fault.
Sit on his lap. No, that's harassment. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
I was cosplaying.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Cosplaying
as Lil Jon or something like that. Okay.
No, as a defensive nigga. I'm not really a defensive nigga. I think all of y'all deserve rights. Go. We're done.
The bar is right there. That's crazy. This nigga said y'all deserve rights like it was a like you're welcome. I think you all should have rights.
I'm joking. Shit, fuck.
They almost broke his shoulder doing the back pat.
Thank y'all for having me, man. That was really awesome. It was a really good
Thanks
discussion.
For coming through. We appreciate the conversation and
yeah.
We appreciate being able to have this kind of.
The 20 minutes I heard sounded really good, you know. The 20 minutes, I said like 2 sentences, but you know,
they were decent sentences. Well, look, guys,
you can follow them. You come in and, you know what I'm saying? You drop bars. Then I make the bars in the
Suburban Boys podcast on everything, on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all that. If you want to come through and see us, our bonus episodes during the pre-shows, or if you want to join us live during the pre-show where you can comment and speak to us, hop over on Patreon, like, subscribe, let us know everything that you think about the things that have been discussed during this episode, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Astros up 4-1. Shout out Houston.
H-Town, hold it down.
Niggas do watch baseball. That's crazy.
Rest in peace, Takeoff.
Rest in peace, Takeoff, as well as Aaron
Takeoff.
Carter. But yeah, the take. We don't have time, but yeah, rest in peace, Takeoff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Where's the beast Takeoff?
All right.
It's a red flag.